All right. Well, it's been a long time, boys, but welcome. It is September 30th, 2019. Welcome back to the 50/50 podcast only show, officially sponsored by Culver's and Poncho and Lefties in Monroe, Wisconsin, down on the square. Check them out. I'm Tyler.
I'm Connor.
I'm Brian.
We have our very special guest, Brian, here today. Brian, so I don't think you have been on the show before, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Okay. My name is Brian. Do you need my last name here too, or?
No, that's okay. Unless you want to give it away so people can stalk you.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm ready to hit the public.
I'm going to need the last 4 digits of your social and your credit card number.
You want the security code on the back? A lot of people have been asking for that lately. The folks on them, they'll find nothing. They'll find absolutely nothing on my bank account. So, but I'm going for my second bachelor's degree in nursing. Went to high school with both the hosts here. We all got to go way back. Lived with Connor up at the Dub for my first round of schooling, and over at Shithouse. Those were the days. Been a big Packer fan, a big Brewer fan, and big Badgers fan all my life. Seemed like a pretty good gig to get involved in this podcast. So thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. So I don't know if you
being one of the infamous pickup ballers that we used to run with. Previous hosts Eric and Josh and Louis even joined that club. So
Coach Louis, that's Coach Louis.
Yeah,
Coach Lou. So one of the things we like to do when guests come on is torture them a little bit with some questions. So I think you've already answered my first one, which was what were your sports or team biases. So one question we always ask is, are you a season ticket holder for the Green Bay Packers?
No, as soon as I've got a little extra cash with me, I'm going to get on that 30-year wait list. I'd love to be a season ticket holder, but
what about owner? Are you an owner?
I'm not an owner, unfortunately.
Ooh.
Lacking in that department.
All right. So getting a little deeper here, is Kumerow a better Jeff Janis?
Jeff Janis actually had some playing time here. Aside from last year's little stint in late in the season, I don't think Kumerow's had the opportunity to really prove himself. But I got a fun story about Jake Kumerow, fellas. All right, so I'm a lowly freshman at UW-Whitewater, and it's about 6:30 in the morning at the Williams Center. And I decided I was going to go and hit the gym and get swole so I could pick up some ladies, right? And what ended up happening...
Sarah, don't listen to this part.
So I get to the gym, and I sit down on a bench. The football team happens to be there. And this tall, at the time, lankier guy with long hair, and a couple other guys are asking me to get up and leave. And he goes, "Listen, bud, we got to get this workout in, and you kind of don't matter." Excuse me. But lo and behold, this man that kicked me out of my bench happened to be Jake Kumerow, set the Division III touchdown receiving record, and now plays for the Green Bay Packers. So there's my claim to fame.
You must be on the same wavelength as me. My other question was any memories of him from Whitewater, but you got it.
Can we run it back a little bit? I think it's kind of disrespectful to compare Kumerow to Jeff Janis of all people. We should be reporting to Packer greats like Jordy Nelson.
There we go.
IMO.
There we go. So next question here, probably one of the most important questions I was able to come up with. Who is the most inspirational coach you had, and why is it Ken Grotz?
You never had Ken Grotz, though.
I never did have Ken Grotz. That was a leading question.
Not a legit
never
question.
Played basketball, so I never had the opportunity to have the infamous Ken Grotz.
Brian would have been the only player in Monroe high school history to average 5 fouls a game if he would have played.
That would have been my role.
Literally would have fouled out every game.
If I was playing in high school, I would have actually developed some kind of skill, though. So maybe I wouldn't be the
skill to foul.
Can't
take him home. Can't take him home, Brian. Can't take him home.
You're not going to give up the easy shot, that's for sure. So
I'm not going to make the easy shot either. That's for sure.
Is Paul Chris dad?
He seems like he could be anybody's dad, especially here in Wisconsin.
So does that make Mike LaCarone grandpa?
Perhaps. I'd say he's more like the fun uncle that comes around during Thanksgiving and holidays. He's the funny guy that kind of his wife kind of lets him get away and have a little good time with everybody and kind of jokes, and everybody likes him, and then he has to go back, that kind of thing.
Like, oh, sorry, I got to go win the national championship. My bad, guys.
I'll be back.
Should Chuck have been asked to walk on at UW for football?
Say that again.
Should Chuck have been asked to walk on at UW for football?
I mean, technically anyone could walk on at.
He's got you there.
It's just a matter of whether or not you get the opportunity to shine, or you get gray shirted, or whatever. Charles, really, all he had to do was make a hype video for himself for punting, and he probably could have played at any Division I school. He's a 4-star recruit, rated by Spark, no less.
That's official. Wow, I didn't know that.
He went to multiple kicking camps, so the guy definitely had his connections, but I don't know if he wanted to do that.
Our insider Eric said he had emails that he had to respond to, and he never did, and that was the reason why he didn't walk on.
That's why. Yeah, he said it was too much work to sign up for the program. So.
All right. So.
I have one last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
One last question. We asked Josh this, and he couldn't give us a straight answer. But who is the best player to wear number 22 for the Bucks?
I mean, statistically speaking, and I think my knowledge of the Bucks isn't as in depth as all of your guys's, and I've probably started following the Bucks since Josh proclaimed, and I can attest to this. Josh proclaimed in 2013 the 5-year plan that the Milwaukee Bucks would at least reach the playoffs, maybe even the Eastern Conference Finals in 5 years from 2013. We said this in college, and it was 2018 last season. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think as of right now, I think that's Chris Middleton, 22.
Oh, over Michael Redd.
I would say so. Michael Redd does have a special place in my heart. He's the very first Bucks jersey I ever had. I watched him shoot that way overhand.
And you're not going to give it to him.
But I remember more of Chris Middleton just because of my ignorance.
Okay.
All right. Who is the best Bucks player to wear the number 34?
I mean, that one's kind of a closed book now that Giannis won MVP. I mean, Ray Allen never won any MVP.
One MVP.
So.
He's rated this year by multiple Sports Illustrated, ESPN as the number 1 overall rated player in the NBA. I think that goes without question.
I mean, I love me some Ray Allen, but he couldn't do it in 01. I mean, Giannis hopefully can do it next year or the year after. So,
with the Lopez twins.
So leading into one of my questions, that was my very next question. When did you become a Bucks fan?
That's probably about 2013. I surrounded myself with people that also were Bucks fans. I didn't pay much attention, and it actually came around 2K. All the 2K tournaments we had in college. I got to understand and get to know a lot of the different players. Yeah, you can say, "Oh my God," it's all right. I've beaten you enough times, right?
Okay, buddy. I'm Brian, and I play top-ranked Spurs every time.
All right. Thoughts on the forum name?
The forum name.
Mm-hmm. The Fiserv Forum.
I think it's effective. I mean, Fiserv is whoever's willing to pay the money. The only thing that I don't know, did you guys have a different thing in mind?
Yeah, the
Butterburger Arena.
So,
or
the Gruber Law Office Arena. You know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
His name's already plastered everywhere, so.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's just working his way in because eventually that name's going to be up for grabs, kind of like how Miller Park got sold out to American Family. It'll be AmFam Park, is what I've heard.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever call it that. It's too much in the mouth.
It'll be Miller Park forever.
It's like trying to talk when you have peanut butter in your mouth, you know. All right, so we've had some special players leave the Bucks that have a good place in our heart. So Deli, Henson, Thon, and Prez.
Tony Snell.
You could only bring one of them back. Who do you bring back?
Oh gosh, I think as effective as he was coming off the bench and even starting certain games, I had the Prez. I think didn't want to stay in Milwaukee. It was evident, especially when he got eventually picked up in the offseason. His verbiage and the way he kind of described his time in Milwaukee, he felt like he was being overshadowed by Giannis. I think he wanted to shine. But I mean, that's not just my opinion. That's go ahead.
There's definitely weird chemistry between him and Eric Bledsoe in the backcourt.
I completely agree with you. I think both of them play a similar style ball. Aside from Eric Bledsoe wanting to, I think he's more electrifying, whereas he'll make plays and he'll like spark a good 9-10 point run. Whereas Prez will play great defense on the back end as well. I don't know. Prez, I think, is a little more consistent, but the guy I would bring back probably would be Tony Snell. 3-and-D consistency.
Hey, there he is.
Snelly cat, what a guy. So I think we mentioned it before on a show where we were in a group chat, and you were speaking about how Bucks should pick up Muritic, and lo and behold, 2 hours later that day, they traded for Muritic. So we just want to know, who is your Bucks insider?
I cannot confirm or deny that I do have an insider. If I did say, I'd probably have to murder both of you in this chat and anyone listening. So for the sake of everyone's lives here, I don't think I can reveal my sources.
All right, fair enough. So why are the Seattle Sonics not back yet?
Oh my God.
I don't know if this is a joke or I just don't think that. I don't know if there's a market for it right now. Then if you add another team, you have to at least add 2 teams in order to keep the Eastern and Western Conference even. And then you have problems with specific divisions within the conferences. And so,
all right. So we got 3 more questions here for you. We're getting to the end, I promise. Why do you hate the NHL, and what has it ever done to you?
I don't think it's not a matter of hate. I just haven't followed it enough. I didn't. Maybe it's because there isn't a Wisconsin team that was always being shown on TV when I was a kid. Folks didn't really watch the NHL when I was growing up, so I just haven't really grown attached to it.
What is your stance on fighting in hockey?
Let it happen. It's part of the game. It's been that way since, as far as I know, it's been that way since the beginning of hockey. So let it keep going.
Final question here. Should women be allowed to hit in hockey?
It's part of the game.
Fair enough. I'm on board with you on that, just so you know. I think women should allowed to be hit. All right, so we just got to get some summer catch-up stuff out of the way. Connor, is there anything you want to bring up?
Oh, God. I mean, I did the quick 50 on the off-season for basketball. But otherwise, it's been so long. Just keep going. I'll think of stuff as we go.
Okay. So I'll bring it up later. But we'll definitely go over some Women's World Cup stuff. It sounds pretty sweet. But I would say this the off season for the NHL is just as wild for the NBA. So the Hawks kind of retooled a little bit. The big trade that I guess surprised everyone is they traded away Henry Yokiharu for Alex Nylander. Why that name sounds familiar is you're thinking of William Nylander from the Maple Leafs. That's his younger brother. They also brought back, they're continuing the whole let's bring the band back together. They brought back Andrew Shaw from Montreal, which I think is a good move. He's a pretty good depth. I mean, definitely is going to be on the third line. No deeper than that, but he brings a lot of energy. Is a great on the penalty kill. They traded away Artem Anisimov. Picked up Olimata from the Penguins. And I think they traded away my boy John Hayden to New Jersey, but it is what it is. Sometimes you got to lose those big haymakers from Hayden. The
PK Subban trade.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to. You read in my mind, man. So PK got traded from Nashville to New Jersey, and I think this is a really good move. Honestly, because they have so much depth at the D position that they can afford to lose PK and still have a great defensive core. I mean, people have been speculating on whether or not that Montreal has officially won the PK Weber trade, but I'll let people choose their own opinion. I think they did, honestly. It depends. I mean, they did get quite the return. They got 2 second-round picks. They got Jeremy Davies and Steven Santee. for PK, but we'll see. Devils also got the first pick in the draft and picked up Jack Hughes, so they're probably going to be pretty stacked. Taylor Hall should be healthy this year, hopefully. I had a lot of trades written down. I'm just going to go over a couple that I wanted to mention. So Milan Lucic got traded to Edmonton for James Neal. James, the real deal Neal, which I think is a good move. Calgary wants to bring in we were talking about this literally last episode. Calgary needed to bring in a guy who can protect their small boys, and they definitely did that. Bringing in Lucic, bringing in a big man. He'll probably play in the second or third line, but they'll have someone out there who will definitely create a presence on the ice. Toronto picked up some depth at defense. Picked up Cody Ceci from Ottawa. I just had it written. Oh yes. Pittsburgh traded away Phil the Thrill Boys to Arizona. So the man, the legend, is going to be down in the desert, playing probably on the first line. Playing with was going to be probably a really competitive Arizona Coyotes team this year. Nick Schmaltz will be back and be healthy. They got OEL down there. So look for the Coyotes kind of have a pretty solid year this year. And the big one that just happened recently, the only other one I'll mention, the Blues picked up Justin Falk from Carolina in exchange for Joel Edmondson, Dominic Buck, and a 7th. So kind of risky. I think Carolina wins this trade, but St. Louis is just trying to get a team together that'll be competitive again and have a chance at going back to back for the Cups, which Pittsburgh has done before. So I guess other things I'd written down too were just the Bucks signings with Corver, Matthews, and Robin, obviously, and we talked about that, and Giannis's brother.
Thanasis. How do you say his name?
Thanasis.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Trading Prez to Indiana rather, and signing Chris Middleton. So
yeah, I think in the end it's a good move. We did save room in the luxury tax. People are gonna argue about it. I see it all the time in the Bucks subreddit, like whether we should have traded him or not. But like I said, they weren't functional. Him and Bledsoe in the backcourt weren't functional. And it's better to bring in like a more spot up shooter than someone like Prez, who was like more like an outside in kind of scorer who could drive, stuff like that. And that's really what we do need to surround Giannis with, is just pure shooters. No one who can attack, no one who can like crowd the lane or whatever. And I really do like the signing, especially Kyle Korver. I think he's a great guy
brother.
Off the bench. And I do like Wes Matthews too. Wes Matthews has shown that he's a really good 3-and-D guy, but he also makes a lot of plays happen. He's really good vision. So
we got it for cheap.
Yeah, we did. So yeah, like I said, it does suck to lose like such an iconic player. Like when we lost Jabari wasn't the best fit for the team, but it was Jabari, and it sucks losing him, but I think it's definitely going to make the team better going forward.
I think Horst did a really good job of retooling this team for another solid run.
We covered a lot of weaknesses we showed last year.
Mm-hmm.
We suffered hard when it came to guarding the 3. So we picked up a lot of like quick, good defensive guys, and not to mention Dante DiVincenzo is going to be back this year for that too. Rebounding was a big thing that we struggled with last year. Mirotic couldn't get the boards that we needed him to when he was starting. So now we got Robin Lopez come off the bench and just strictly rebound. So that's going to be really nice.
I'm still waiting on my Laverne and Shirley remake with Robin and Brooks. So Milwaukee Bucks social media team, make it happen.
The Bucks last year, especially playing against Toronto, they just seemed like they were all in slow motion and gassed almost the entire game after the first 2 games of the series. I'm glad that they went out and got guys that are a little bit more shifty and quick.
Last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, our biggest problem was our bench, because they had like Serge Ibaka, Kawhi, and like Pascal Siakam to lock up Giannis. So when Giannis gets locked up, he needs someone to step up, and Chris Middleton wasn't stepping up. And usually in like previous series, like especially in the series against the Celtics, George Hill was huge off the bench. Like even Ersan came out too. Sterling did well. But in that Raptors series, no one stepped up off the bench, and that's basically what lost us the game. That and Fred VanVleet shooting like 70% from the 3-point line. But
Fred VanVleet had his kid and just decided to go off.
Yeah,
I think but game 3, game 4 had 7 threes.
And like the last whatever games of like the year, including the finals, he shot like 62% like total from like the beginning of game 3 till they won the championship. It was insane. But
a fun fact about Fred VanVleet: he is from Rockford.
Mm-hmm.
So not too far away from where I'm living. Actually, he
nice.
He went to Auburn High School, and it's a pretty beat up high school. Rockford doesn't have the best of reputations, but he made it. That man made it. And he's got a apparel store downtown that's sold out almost every time I've gone there. They don't have enough stuff to keep the place open. Like they have to close because they run out of stuff so quickly. Everybody wants his merch.
That's really cool.
All right. So I guess let's move on. Let's get back to present day. We're gonna talk about the NFL real quick. So any thoughts on the Packers season so far?
The defense is definitely the biggest thing for me. We actually look good, and like as a Packers fan, having a good defense is like an oddity. It's so weird. But
yeah, I would say that our run defense has not been good since week 1.
Right.
We might as well not have middle linebackers playing for as fun as Blake Martinez is when he makes a big play. He doesn't do it very often. I think, I don't know if it's the number 50 curse, but he basically does what AJ Hawk used to do and meet them 2-3 yards down the field almost every time. Never behind the line of scrimmage. And if he does, it's because it comes free because Kenny Clark has taken up like 4 or 5 blocks. I mean, that's really the only way. And then not having a stable other starter means that at middle linebacker means that we're running like 4 or 5 defensive backs all the time. And as good as our defensive backs are, that's not very good for stopping the run.
No, they hopefully can figure. Well, is Oren Brooks still on IR?
I believe he comes back here in the next week or 2. He started practice last week, but non-contact.
Yeah, I'll keep looking that up. Yeah, the defense is like just offensively, or defensively. Sorry, they really rushed the pass a lot better compared to years past. I gotta say, like Rodgers is off to a pretty good start. Like he's still, I think, at the same pace as his like stats for 2014. We were actually running the ball. Screen plays are back, alive and well.
We have is that we aren't able to run the ball, and LaFleur likes to facilitate his offense by running the ball. And currently, Aaron Jones has a 2-yard average. He doesn't even have 200 yards on the ground through 4 games. So that's a little less than 50 yards a game, and that's coming off a guy who had almost 5 yards a carry the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's really weird seeing him like not do as well this year after last year. Like we were like begging to give him more minutes. Like McCarthy just wouldn't do it. So like we don't. It's weird to look at it like that. I agree.
On the game on last Thursday, there was like 2 or 3 consecutive drives where first and second down, LaFleur decided to run the ball every single time, and it just like wasn't working. And then it was confusing because my roommate Declan pointed this out. It's like, Aaron is on fire tonight. He's killing it through the air. Why are you passing on first and second down? Or not? Why are you not passing on first and second down? So yeah, the Smiths. This is a cool stat. The Smiths had, I think before the Eagles game, it might still be true, but they had the same number of QB pressures as the totals of like 5 other teams in the league. Like I think it was like the Raiders and like 3 or 4 others, but it was insane that they are just doing so well. Everybody's questioning, like a lot of people are like skeptical of like them coming in and signing contracts with the Packers, signing fairly big contracts, and here they are doing what they came to do or were signed here to do. Special teams is looking sharper, I think. J.K. Scott should be in the running for MVP, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, I might buy that man's jersey.
Danny, dude, we want to talk about Danny Vitale?
Making fullbacks great again.
Hell yeah, brother.
I was saying this a year and a half ago.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been literally on this fullback thing since we started the podcast. I think episode 1, I was ranting about this.
Yeah, I can confirm. He was talking about how we should have been given, like, Rip was given the ball once and he fumbled, and then they never gave it to him again.
He fumbled it against Atlanta in the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that was like it was the NFC Championship game.
NFC Championship game. Yep. Rashawn Gary being pretty big, Savage coming in pretty big, both first round picks. Amos was another great signing. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there are times where Aaron's still holding onto the ball a little bit longer than he should be. What do you guys think about that?
He's just looking for the big play downfield. I can't tell you how many times I've seen, at least in the Packers subreddit, somebody there's always breaking down like the X's and O's. And what I've noticed is that they'll point out when Aaron Rodgers looks, he'll see his open guy that's probably designed to go to, but he'll look for the big play over the top all the time, and then he ends up hanging the ball too long, then he gets sacked or he has to throw it away.
Yep. And like the problem with it is that back in the day, he can get away with that because he had experienced wide receivers who knew how to come back to the ball and knew how to like get open and stuff. But he's dealing with a bunch of like rookies, third year, fourth year guys who aren't going to be as experienced in that side of the offense. So
another thing that always bothers me, he's always, and this happens probably, I don't know, at least twice a game. He'll get to the line, and I don't know what he's trying to do, but he takes up all 40 seconds, and they don't even get set, and he has to call timeout. And sometimes those timeouts become crucial. And it's like,
yeah. I mean, like
I don't know, this is for years now.
They were talking about that recently, and it was I mean, like the first few weeks it made sense because he's under a whole new system. He didn't play a single preseason game, and you know you have calls that are coming in. He has to wait for the call to come in, then he has to communicate it to everyone else, and you know sometimes these plays are like 14, 15, 16 words long. So I get that. Like with McCarthy, obviously the last few years it was inexcusable because he had been in that offense for how long, but now. Like the first few weeks, it made sense. Like, okay, it's going to take a while to get the play calls in and then get them back out. So that's kind of understandable. But I felt like it in the past, like a few games, it started to get a little bit faster, at least.
I would agree with you, and I think he hit his stride last week. But it also helped that Philly's defense there was pretty banged up, and Devontae Adams finally hit his stride.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't quadruple teaming him.
Definitely some questionable play calling last week.
Especially for first and goal for one.
Yeah, I don't even think we talked about the NFL draft yet. But I guess we'll just kind of talk about NFL draft, free agency, trades as a whole in the league. Any big thoughts about that? Yeah, go ahead.
Before we move on, do you want to talk about predictions for the Packers this year? How do we think after 4 weeks? How do we think? What are we thinking?
They definitely have a really strong case for the wild card for sure.
So you don't think we're going to win the NFC North?
I think they do it. I mean, like, because the Vikings, honestly, like Kirk Cousins is just so easily rattled. Like he's not a clutch player by any means. He just gets like so easily rattled and just throws them off. So I'm not too worried about them. The Lions played pretty well against the Chiefs, so I'm so kind of edge about them. I think the Bears could be pretty good. I think it'll be us and the Bears fighting for the North. But if I had to say right now, I'd probably pick Packers winning the North this year.
Now knowing that Trubisky went down with a dislocated shoulder, I think he's done for the year.
True.
But they're trying to determine who their starter is going to be, and I think that's going to hinder the Bears' offense a little bit, especially now that they don't have Jordan Howard. I don't know what they're seeing with that Jordan Montgomery so far, and I don't think that who's their little guy? He's a running back, 5'7" running back that he's like their third down and receiving back. He's not I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but he's not necessarily someone that can run between the tackles like Jordan Howard could. And it's painfully evident. Jordan Howard ran all over us with Philly on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
The Lions, I think, are going to give us more of a push than the Bears. The Bears defense
Tariq
is going to be really good. Tariq Cohen, thank you. The Lions, I think, are going to give us a scare.
I agree.
Their no-name defense is actually quite terrifying. They were able to give the Chiefs a run for their money. Vikings are, I'll say, the NFC North is probably the toughest division of football. And it's going to show that our records aren't going to be as good because we're going to be beating the crap out of each other. Packers probably take the division.
I definitely
10-6.
predict an NFC North team getting to the NFC Championship game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, draft, free agency, trades, anything you guys want to bring up? Trades have been really, like, even big trades this year have been more common than they usually are, so that's been sweet to see.
I've seen that. I don't know if the NBA's had any impact on how the NFL, like, players have a little bit more say in what they want to do. So if they'll hold out and all that stuff, but I think if they want to trade, the teams kind of see, especially lately, they'll try to do it and try to get that kind of. I don't know if it's trying to give the players more of a autonomy, or it's because they want to build their brand, or I have no idea what the situation is. But I think you're right. It's easier to get trades than it was in the years prior.
Yeah, I mean, Houston traded away what's his name? It'll come to me. Clowney, and picked up the all pro left tackle from the Dolphins. So
I mean, and they took a wide receiver from the Dolphins too.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, like, draft stuff I wanted to mention. People were shitting on it, and I'll take the blame for that. I was one of the people shitting on it. But Arizona hiring Cliff Kingsbury, a man who has ran the air raid offense since day one, and drafting Kyler Murray, a guy who was in a air raid offense system with Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley, who had studied under Bob Stoops, is just a brilliant plan. Honestly, like, it's just, like, so more comfortable, like, for Murray going in to beat an offense that he's, like, been in since, he started college, kind of a thing.
And with Kyler Murray, obviously he actually seems. I've watched their very first game against the Lions, and he kind of, once he, I think, adjusted to the speed of the game a little bit and kind of slowed down and just started actually playing. He was fun to watch. I think players like Kyler Murray and, like, Lamar Jackson are probably what the future of NFL quarterbacks are going to be. Those really scramblers, and they're just going to throw it all over the place and have big highlight reels. So the NFL is always changing. All the guys are getting bigger and faster and stronger, and I think that's the way that the game's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I was ready for this. I was ready for a good year in the AFC, and then Andrew Luck decided to retire. So my hope for a competitive AFC has just kind of gone out the window. But Lamar Jackson has shown me that it's possible that Baltimore could be making a pretty good run along with Kansas City. Speaking of which, like, did you guys notice that? Like, Kansas City really didn't do very much to help out their defensive side of the ball. And that was, like, the main thing that everybody was, like, shitting on them for last year during the AFC Championship.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They did very, very minimal. I mean, they picked up Frank Clark from Seattle and, like, had a couple draft picks that were on the defensive side of the ball, but still.
They lost their all-pro D Ford. I think they lost a couple. They lost Eric Berry, I believe. Did they let him go? Not sure.
I think you're right. I'll double check. Yeah, he's in Tennessee. No, he's a free agent. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was time for him to go. But the issue that they're going to run into is they're going to give Patrick Mahomes a gigantic contract, and Kansas City's not a huge market. And so what's going to happen is it'll hurt their abilities to get more defensive players, and they'll end up kind of, I think, in a similar situation Green Bay was for the last 2-3 years under Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, he's going to get a bigger contract than Russell Wilson. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
Dude, Gardner Minshew being a steal in the 6th round. Hello?
One of the biggest memes of our time.
Dude, I love that, man.
The next Chuck Norris. This is the kind of jokes that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to see him step up when Foles went down. I mean, obviously, the first, like, when he was coming in off the bench, he wasn't so hot, but the past few weeks, he's been playing halfway decent. Talking about people coming off the bench and filling in, Bridgewater starting to find a groove in New Orleans, replacing Drew Brees. I thought last night's game, like, before it even happened, I was like, Dallas and New Orleans, I was like, wow, that's probably going to be a pretty good shootout. wasn't that. It was like 10-12. So it was a very low-scoring game.
And I think Dallas got away with playing really easy teams off the bat, and it's the classic Dallas Cowboys getting all the attention and getting credit for being like a top 10 team in a lot of people's minds just because of their performance against really weak teams. As soon as they play somebody that's of equal caliber, it kind of, and they're faced with adversity, it kind of shows a little bit of their weaknesses.
One thing I want to pick on really quick with the NFL, surprisingly enough, is I don't know if you guys kind of agree with this, but the player safety issues that have really reared their ugly head this year, like refs just completely ignoring huge, blatant face masks, helmet to helmet. I mean, we saw two of them let alone in the Packer-Eagles game, where it was a helmet to helmet hit, and on a defenseless ball carrier. So, and like, I don't know, they're just like today. Vontaze got suspended for the rest of the year, but that's a guy who's at a repeat offense.
Yeah, I don't know if that guy should be playing anymore. He clearly does not care how much he gets fined or how much he's suspended. He's a guilty party all the time. It's a big reason why he got released in Cincinnati. It's an attitude thing, and I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah. I don't know. There's I feel like the league doesn't care who gets hurt as long as it's not the quarterback, honestly.
I agree with you.
That's what it's boiled down to for me. They could care less if it's anyone else but the quarterback. So
quarterback makes them a lot of money.
That is true, but for a league that wants to really protect the shield and protect the players, I mean, even the NFLPA, like the fucking players union should be stepping up and be saying something, be like, this is bullshit, you know?
I completely agree with you.
Anything else you guys want to bring up about the NFL?
We gonna skip the Antonio Brown? You gotta wonder.
The memes speak for themselves.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Yeah, you gotta wonder what's the worst free agent team or fantasy team that somebody could have had this year with all the injuries and all this stuff outside of
Foles, AB,
Lamar Miller.
Ooh.
Obviously, you got Andrew Luck retiring or Drew Brees. I mean,
but Drew Brees should be back by the end of the season, though.
Right, but your week 14 is when the playoffs start for fantasy football, and so
that's true.
I mean, you could probably make a whole team out of all the guys that have gone down this year so far. That's pretty sad.
Fantasy, Tyler. I remember a specific Twitter poll that someone put out.
My bad. It will happen next year. I just didn't get on top of it. But I will put out another poll about if we want to do one for the NBA.
NBA fantasy?
NBA fantasy, which might be fun. I haven't done it since like elementary school, but I think that could be fun. So I guess moving on to a little bit of college ball. Wisconsin football, number 8 on a roll. Defense is on another level this year.
We want Bama.
Dude, we got Bama. What is it, 2024, I think, if I remember right?
The SEC Big Ten Challenge again.
Yeah, dude. Let's bring that up right now. Whoever's been listening to the show, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's make this Big Ten SEC Challenge a thing. It'd be really, really fun, especially since like we've gone down to like 2 bye weeks now for, I think it's like that's how it is on the schedule for like the next 4 or 5 years. But yeah, dude, honestly, like the defense this year, like they went 8, 10 quarter, like 10 or no. Yeah, it was like 9.5 or 10 quarters they went without surrendering a single point.
Yep.
Pretty insane. Unfortunately, like when we were talking about this last year, I was like, Scott Nelson was like my guy to like have a big showing this coming year, and he gets hurt. So there's that. But dude, Zach Bond, you guys want to talk Zach Bond?
I think him and Leo Chanel are like super good inside. Even though Leo Chanel's only a freshman, I think he's shown a lot of potential.
Oh yeah,
for this year, and I think like that's like they're the core of our defense, and they're doing a great job at stopping the run, getting out and protecting the pass and stuff like that.
Chris Orr's also having himself a big year. I mean, and like honestly too, it's so nice to have Garrett Rand back. Like on the edge, he just can bring so much focus from the offense that they lose track of other players. Daddy Chris just whipping his dick out during Michigan and going for it on 4th and 3 at like the 40-yard line. Oh man, that's pretty sick. Yeah, the offense feels a lot more balanced. If I had to like make a comparison for like Cone, I feel like he's kind of becoming a Scott Tolzien, that he's a very accurate passer.
I agree. He's an actual QB for once, and it's been a while, Wisconsin football. It's been a while, but it's really nice to have like an actual QB.
Was an actual QB.
I'd say.
Isn't that when he transferred to Florida State? It's because he's an actual QB and wants to throw the ball, and then he gets benched game 1.
Hey, he's been sharing minutes now.
Oh, okay.
He's been sharing minutes now. I think Cone maybe just a little bit more mobile than Tolzien, but yeah, it's nice to have a good quarterback in there. Stave was just too much of a head case, and now we got Cone. Quintez being back definitely helps too. He definitely helps that passing attack between Pryor and Davis, and
Danny Davis, the current of the program, the president of the program.
I know I'm missing someone here, but yeah, offensive line is just stupid good this year.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting how like they're manhandling D lines.
Obviously, we're big punter guys here. Anthony Lottie's off to a big start. One thing on I guess there's 2 things on special teams. Colin Larsh having a tough time with field goals. I don't think he's missed an extra point this year, but I think he's had some pretty tough time making field goals there. So hopefully we can find someone to take over his job quickly. And then we've had a couple of troubles with the onside kick issues. I mean, that could be the hands team not being out there and no one being ready, and it kind of coming out of nowhere. But yeah, we've had some trouble with some offside kicks this year.
I think Badgers struggled just a little bit last week against Northwestern's defense, and I don't know. You were at the game, Tyler. What do you think you saw that gave the normally very true and strong offensive line from Wisconsin? What do you think gave them trouble?
Honestly, it's I feel like just they have this really weird way of always having a decent defense, if not a above average defense, and they like, I feel like the looks that they gave were like very unique in a sense of like they probably ones they hadn't seen on film. So I feel like Northwestern have busted out the playbook a little bit with their defensive play calling, especially because they know that this is like, if they want to win the West, they have to win this game. So, but yeah, the offense clicked early and then it just kind of went away. So it was a really weird game. And this is what I always do. Like, it's always like that with Northwestern. Like, more so when we're down at Evans Field, but
I completely agree with you.
Northwestern's just a weird team.
Scott Tolzien, one of my worst memories of college football was like 2010. Badgers were just on a roll, and we go into Northwestern, and we just get spanked. We lose like 35-21, and it wasn't a game from the start. And this is a team that had, I believe in 2010, it was John Clay. We had Monty Ball.
No. Are you thinking of Michigan State there? Because I was going to say Northwestern was the last game of the season, and we just steamrolled them.
2010?
Yeah.
He was 11 then. So I know we went into Northwestern when our team was like just stacked, obviously.
Are you thinking of 14?
I think you're right. Maybe it was 14. I don't remember. I was brutal.
Where we went, like we were at Evans Field in Northwestern at Northwestern. I was at that game. I remember that game very clearly. So I guess we talked about that. Ooh, I kind of want to bring that up because I think that's something that people should be discussing a little bit more. The college football playoff expansion. What do you guys think about that? Where do you think is the perfect number of teams to have?
Okay, I mean, I don't know what this is. Can you explain this to me? I don't.
So,
I didn't hear about this.
So college football, people have like been talking about like how they need to expand the field of teams.
Okay.
Obviously for a while, but I think it's like something that's like we were talking about this before, like even more relevant now than it has been in the past years, just because they're like the top like 6, 7, 8 teams are just so even that it's terrible to just leave them out just because they have like one bad game kind of a thing. So what do you think the field of teams should expand to like 6, should expand to 8, 10? What do you think?
I think it should definitely be an 8-team tournament.
I completely agree.
I think 8 would be good.
More televised games, more potential upsets for more historical like runs and teams and stuff like that. And I think football's hard because it's like a single game. It's like do or die.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you really can't have it like too big or too small. I think 8 is like the perfect amount.
I like 8. I think a case could be made for 6 because I've like been debating about it with myself for a while. But like having 6 would just like make the regular season that just much more important too, of like people not having to like kind of like ease off the gas, because then if you're a 1 or 2 seed, you get the bye right away, and then 5 and 6 can get to play the 3 and 4 teams. So yeah, I feel like getting that bye would be, and having that more time to prepare would be nice. Oh yeah, UCF and the streak ending. Right. I think it was 26 consecutive wins, something like that.
I still don't get as much recognition.
Are college refs, I mean specifically the Pac-12, are the issues getting too big for the NCAA to handle, boys?
I don't know about. That's a tough one.
Because I mean, we saw it with the Michigan State, Arizona State already this year, and like one of the targeting calls in the Wisconsin Michigan game was very questionable.
Yeah.
So
seems like there's just a struggle across all leagues as football, just whether what pass interference is and what targeting is, and I don't know if there's a way that they can streamline it.
So let's do a little overrated, underrated here. Let's start with. Let's start with Iowa at 14. Overrated or underrated, boys? Or are they ranked where they should be?
This is hard because like conference play is just starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I need to see like more top 25 matchups for this to like.
And you want your strength of schedule to be better, especially for the argument if the Badgers continue to win. You want to have stronger opponents that you play against in order to give you some justification to go to the playoff.
So Iowa's played Miami of Ohio, Rutgers.
So until they play Michigan, next week, well, I mean, I guess overrated for now until they play Michigan, and then we'll see. But because then they have Penn State the week after. Yeah, it's.
I think just slightly overrated, honestly.
Yeah,
I'll stick with you on that one. Just slightly overrated, maybe a little bit too high.
Just for now.
All right, Arizona State.
Where's ASU then?
They're 20? At 20.
Who they played?
Cal.
Kent.
They beat Michigan State too, and they beat Cal. Oh, they're definitely underrated then.
Yeah, I'd say that Michigan State game wasn't
with 2 wins over top 20 teams.
Yeah, even though like I feel like that Michigan State game State should have won, but yeah, I'd say they definitely deserve to be in the running for a top 25 and deserve a ranking. I forgot about that. Wake Forest at 22.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. Let's look at these bad boys they played. Rice, North Carolina football?
Hey,
Don't know that one, Chief.
North Carolina gave Clemson a run for their money just last week.
Yeah, North Carolina's nothing to. I mean, there was in a rally, but yeah.
They played one top 25 team this year. Nice.
I'm thinking Wake Forest is just still slightly overrated for me, but yeah.
I think they're overrated.
Yeah, I'm gonna put.
All right, so last one I think I want to bring up is Texas A&M boys.
Overrated.
Tied at 25 with Michigan State.
They have an offense like they do every year, but they might as well be. Their defense might as well be made of Swiss cheese for the amount of holes that they can be exploited for.
I mean, they did.
Holy, their
almost
schedule
beat
is
Auburn.
tough. They have a tough schedule. They played Clemson, Auburn, Bama, Georgia, and LSU. Oof.
That's a tough stretch.
I probably wouldn't put them in top 25 because they have lost both like their ranked games. So I'd give Michigan State the spot.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think they should be tied, honestly. So I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention about oh shit, didn't mean to do that. College football. Did you guys see the whole Iowa State fan sign story? Where the guy brought that sign to College Game Day and had his Venmo tag on there for.
Are you serious?
Yeah, for beer, and like the sign said Bush Light stock supply low, send money, and people like started Venmoing him a shit ton of money, and then he's taking the money and donating it to the Iowa Children's Hospital in Iowa City.
That's pretty cool.
So.
At least get a little bit of Bush Light.
He did say that he kept enough money to buy one 30-pack. So
it's like $14.
Yeah, so everything else is, and then they like some journalist in I don't think it was Iowa, I think it was in Des Moines or wherever, like dug up some of his old tweets, and he was like quoting Tosh.0 and chatting with his friends, and he's like trying to be funny, and it was back when he was 16, and then a lot of people started pulling out of like endorsements with him because of things that he tweeted when he was 16. So, and he like brought out a huge statement saying like, you know, this isn't who he is anymore, kind of a thing. And then someone dug up the reporter's tweets and found just enough bad stuff about them as they had about this young man right here. I need to look up his name real quick because we need to give him some recognition here.
The whole thing with like past tweets and stuff that's like a classic gotcha journalism thing that people do to literally every single professional athlete and celebrity. Like I remember when Mitch Trubisky got drafted by the Bears and somebody found a tweet of him saying "Go Pack Go," and now that's like reposted like every single Packer Bear game. Or how could you forget the iconic Dante DiVincenzo? I like it when girls lick my butthole.
Carson
got one. This is Geronimo Allison. I'll never forget this when he first started playing for the Packers. I believe, what was that, 2015? Picked him up, pulled up from practice squad because all of our wide receivers were made out of glass bones with paper skin. And Casey McDermott, we got to have him on the show someday. He dug up his Twitter, and one thing that was, "Girl, I like that drip drop pussy."
There it is.
And ever since then, anytime that guy catches the ball, that's immediately what comes to my mind. Drip drop.
Yikes. Carson King was that guy's name, so definitely give him a shout out. Doing big things for the children of Iowa. So let's move on and talk about some Major League Baseball. Season just came to an end yesterday. I guess, Brian, I'll let you lead on a couple of things here that you have a strong opinion towards.
Well, let's talking about, and I don't know if this is applicable to the markets in baseball are just so slanted towards really big cities, big markets like New York and Boston, LA. while these teams are quite good this year, especially with New York, Houston, and LA just being powerhouses all year long, I think the smaller markets are having a really hard time competing. This Milwaukee last year, I think, had probably the best shot of going to the World Series in a long time, at least for Milwaukee, but lost it. And I don't know if that's just due to because they wanted like a big Boston versus LA matchup in the World Series last year. I don't know. The Brewers never really had a prayer. No one had a prayer against last year's Boston Red Sox team, but I think it would have been cool. It would have been great to get in Milwaukee.
That's for sure. I think that's arguable, but I think a lot of teams this year that are out of those middle or smaller markets have done fairly well. I mean, look at the Twins going at the 101 win season, the Atlanta Braves, and the Nationals did fairly well too. So, and they both compete with the Braves and Nationals compete with the Mets and the Phillies, and the Marlins out of Miami, and the Twinkies compete with Chicago and Detroit. So, definitely have some like Cleveland, like fucking. I don't know what happened. The fucking rails fell off for Cleveland, but yeah, yeah. They obviously, there's the luxury tax too to kind of help the smaller market teams with being able to build up. But I think you have a valid point that it is a little bit tougher for the smaller mid market teams. But look at San Diego, who's built up there. I think they have the number 1 ranked farm system in the MLB right now. So they definitely could be a competitor down the stretch, especially with like when Machado is like getting to be like a veteran, if they keep him around. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun postseason. But I guess I should probably talk a little bit regular season here. So it was tough. I hate September baseball. It's with everything that happened this year, it feels like a whole era of Cubs baseball is coming to an end. Joe is not coming back. It's up in the air of like who is going to stick around from the core, who's going to be traded away. Your guess is as good as anyone's.
Again, they're going into a rebuild.
I think they're going to go into a retool. Rebuild is way too of a knee-jerk reaction. I think they're just going into a retool. They have the potential to be a contending team again next year if they make the right choices. I mean, people have been throwing around names for manager, and Joe Girardi's been coming up a lot, and it's very ignorant. I don't think he's a good fit. He got chased out of New York from the Yankees, so I don't think he'll be a good fit, honestly, for the team. And WGN broadcasted their final game for the Cubs, so it was just like I don't know. It feels like my whole childhood is being taken away from me. So yeah, I guess we'll get into like who stays, who goes from this team. For me, I mean, feel free to jump in and kind of call me a homer here, but I think one big thing that needs to happen this offseason is the Cubs need to re-sign Nick Castellanos. He's been a big help for them this second half when they picked him up from Detroit.
Yeah, if he played like that all season, he'd be a MVP candidate.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be kept around. I think he's like one of the younger players, part of this free agency class too. We need to find 2 solid bullpen arms because clearly our bullpen is shit.
It doesn't make sense because it's composed of many of the same pitchers. I mean, I guess it's 3 years removed, but it's many of the same pitching staff that got you to the World Series.
I mean, minus Montgomery and Edwards, but and Chapman, obviously. But yeah, Wade. I'd be excited to see Wade Davis next year with a full spring training and being healthy would be nice. Or not Wade Davis, sorry, Craig Kimbrell.
A lot of saves for you the month of September.
Yeah, I mean he was injured as hell though. Like he's every single time he came back in, it was coming off an injury. So it'll be nice to see him with a full spring training. And speaking of the bullpen, Tyler Chatwood did a great job picking up slack when he needed to step in the sixth position for the starting rotation, or if he just needed to be a reliever brought in after 3 innings and pitch, 2 to 3 solid innings. He did a great job with that. I'd like to keep him around. A lot of people shat on him, but I think he's doing a great job coming in as a reliever.
What do you think contributed to the fall down, like the almost train coming off the rails, as you say, in the month of September? They came into September rated. It was like they had like a 74% chance of making the playoffs, and they just it all went down the drain. What do you think contributed to all that? Was Baez going down?
Baez went down, Rizzo went down, KB went down, Craig Kimbrell was bouncing on and off the injured list. When they got into close games, they couldn't win because the bullpen would blow it. They never really, they had such a great run differential that they could blow teams out, but when they couldn't hit or when the games are close, they could never finish. That was kind of like the story of the year, is that they just couldn't finish all 9 innings of baseball. Like, they were beating the Cardinals in that 4-game series. They were leading in the 8th inning, but they lost it in the 9th. So, it's like I said, they have to find bull. I mean, I'd like to see Brendan Morrow stick around too. I think he could be a great setup guy if they don't re-sign Strop, because I know Strop struggled a little bit this year. But I think if your 1-2 punch at the end of the game was Brendan Morrow and Craig Kimbrell, I don't see them having an issue really, unless either of them go down. Honestly, and like defensively too, we just our infield defensively wasn't good. They made a lot of errors, making routine plays. They just didn't defend well this year. So I guess going back to that, I feel like Russell's pretty much gone. Addison Russell's gone. Hap's going to be gone. Q, I think, is on a club option, so I don't think they'll pick up his option. He did have a really good August, but his September his ERA shot up to like 11 something. And then I think out of the core, Schwarber's probably the one that's on the block, honestly. As much as
pretty solid season for you guys this year too.
Yeah, and I think it's more of a money thing, but. If I had to say if there was someone on the block, it'd probably be Schwarber, which is unfortunate to say because I love that man.
He's a fan favorite.
I think because I was looking at the free agency list, Cole Hamels is up this year with his contract, but he looked okay this year. Is however how old he is. So I'd like to see him, dude, and like I'm just gushing over here right now, just thinking about this. But dude, I was so happy that Yu Darvish turned it around this year. That made me so happy. He was the best pitcher in the NL the second half of the season. They need to keep him around. I think, and he has a player option, so I think he's going to stick around. I think he wants to keep playing here because I think he's really enjoyed and grown into the environment. But like, there are a lot of big names up for pitchers this year. Steven Strasburg is up, but I think he has a player option. I know there were a couple others that I looked at. Cole, not Cole Hamels. Keuchel's up too. Felix Hernandez is up, although he's getting kind of old there. Jake Arrieta is up. Garrett Cole, that's who I was thinking of out of Houston. He's up this year. I think he might have a player option. But yeah, it's gonna be a wild off season. So they definitely, and I mean, who knows if Zobrist stays? If he does, he'll be at a significant pay cut because he's 39. But
I think the Cubs are gonna keep Quintana.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Because like I said, he had a really strong August. His second, he had a really good strong second half of the season, and his first half was pretty good. And then September,
slaughtered the Brewers this year. Anytime that guy pitched against the Brewers is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I could see them kind of moving him for picking up picking up a good 3-4 pitcher, or I guess 4, because we only need 3-4 because we got you, Hendricks, and Lester, but picking up a 4-5 pitcher, or rebuilding the farm a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that should be one thing to focus on too, is getting some arms back into the farm system, and getting some a couple more bats. Speaking of bats, they need to get a couple contact hitters and a true leadoff man. Honestly, that's been killing me. Like, they have a lot of people that can hit the long ball, but they don't have anybody that's just a solid contact hitter that can get obviously outside Nick Castellanos, that can just get like a single or double every 4 times at bat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know who's a strong candidate to replace Madden. It'll probably be some bench coach from Houston, but who knows? So let's talk about the Brewers, because I know you love your Brewers. Were you a true OG 102 loss Brewers fan?
I did watch a lot of I went to a couple games of the 102 loss Brewers team. They were dirt cheap, and I went to a couple of those. So I am an OG, but I didn't pay much attention back in those days as much as I have in the last few years.
Talk about just kicking everyone else in the pants. They are okay. So the bats, since Yelich have gone down, have been ranked in the bottom of the barrel for the league, but pitching is like top 5 in like ERA, walks and hits per inning pitched, and there was another. I think like their K9 stat was insane.
I think the ERA for
since he went down
was like around 3, and that's combined for the entire team. That's absurd.
It's stupid.
One funny story that there's, I think it's Hauser is his name. He's one of our starting pitchers that we had. Anytime that man throws up, like he'll pitch he'll do his first like few pitches, maybe a couple batters. He'll yak all over the mound.
Oh,
and then as soon as he's done yakking, he'll pitch out of his mind, and he'll have like 4 or 5 strikeouts and no runs earned in like 4 or 5 innings that he's pitching. One thing that Craig Counsell doesn't like to do, he doesn't like to keep his starters in for longer than 3 to 4 innings. I don't know what that's all about, but then he cycles through all of our relievers. And I guess the Rockies, especially, that kind of bit us in the butt, because we'd be up 2 or 3 runs going into the 6th, 7th, and then we'd lose it, or we even lose it in the 9th, like last night, went into extra innings and lost. I think in the 13th. We were running out of pitchers.
Brewers player, Adrian Hauser. Sorry, that's who it was.
Yes, Adrian Hauser.
And he's been doing this for like ever. But
it's really, because it's almost every time like clockwork. Yaks on the mound, pitches out of his mind, and then we don't see him for a little while.
Yeah, and like Yelich, I think, was predicted to be back. He could. They said possibly pinch hit in the NLCS if they made it that far, and if they made it to the World Series, I think he got full clearance to play. So
here's hoping that we make it to the World Series. I don't think. I don't know who it'll come down to. The Yankees and the Astros are both their pitching staffs are just outrageous. I don't know if we've got a prayer. The Dodgers probably the best bet.
I mean, like, okay, if I had my way, honestly, I'd love it. Either the Twinkies or the A's, and then have them match up against the Braves or the Brewers. That'd be really fun to watch. Or the Nationals, just to see him stick it to Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think it's going to be Dodgers-Stros round 2.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but every summer during like the All-Star break is usually when like the swimathon for the Goodman Waves like falls on like that same week. So I just like do like a little bracket of like, who I think is going to make it in the playoffs kind of prediction. And I was right on every single team except for Boston. I was wrong on, and LA. And then I think I messed up with Chicago too. I had Chicago in the wild card and Milwaukee winning the division. But yeah, dude, I thought after Tyler Skaggs passed away, I thought the Angels are going to kind of rally around him. But then again, they caught that every year. They just catch that huge injury bug every single time, and everyone goes down. So,
what's having him who's having an MVP year? He might still win MVP for the AL. He's in the running, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. I guess another thing too, if we're still talking Central, Jack Flaherty for the Cardinals has just been a crazy rising. Like, he was in the Rookie of the Year voting last year. I think he finished 5th. This year, he definitely should be in the talking for the Cy Young for the NL. I'll read it off here: a 2.85 ERA. I mean, only won 10 games, but walks, hits per inning pitch is below 1. His batters walked per 9 innings is at 2.6. Strikeouts per 9 innings, 10.7. This dude is pitching out of his mind. He's 23 years old.
I don't know how sustainable that is, but if he can keep it up, that's make himself.
I think he'll keep last year. I looked at his stats from last year, and it's gonna keep getting better. I think obviously he'll kind of plateau, but that'll him plateauing will be what every second or third rotation guy wish he would have, kind of a thing. So yeah, he's been bailing out the Cardinals a lot, especially since they started. If I'm one team that's kind of nervous going to the postseason, it's the Cardinals, man. They literally got shaky there towards the end of September. They were 6-4 in their last 10. So, I mean, and the Braves too. They're coming off a 3-game losing streak. They're 4-6 in their last 10. So it's a little rough, but
baseball's always been a streaky game.
Yeah, baseball is a very streaky game, and I mean, the Yankees are 4-6 in their last 10 with a losing streak at 2, but they were playing, all their September call-ups pretty much to make sure nobody got injured, kind of a thing. So it's more of a rotation thing. Yeah, I guess that kind of we went through playoff predictions for me. What are you thinking here, boy?
I think with the Dodgers having they have that NL Cy Young Award nominee in Ryu.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the nationally leading 2.32 ERA among. I mean, that's just crazy. And they've still got Kershaw. They've still got they've got their 2 really old guys, Kershaw and somebody else. I don't know what the other guy's name is.
I'll look it up.
The dude doesn't hardly throw over 90 miles an hour anymore. But he's pitched they have a lot of experience in the postseason. I don't think they're going to get shaken up by any team.
Kershaw, Buehler, Hyunjin Ryu, and Rich Hill.
Rich Hill, that's the man I'm talking. I think his fastball is 87 miles an hour, no joke.
Yeah.
I think that's about as much oomph as the old man's got. But I think I agree with you. It'll probably end up being a Dodgers Astros repeat, and I think the Astros will take.
So I guess
strength of the pitching
to boost our confidence a little bit. How do you think the wild card's going to play out here?
I mean, I'm biased. I'm hoping that the Brewers can take it from the Nationals and then beat St. Louis. Because I think St. Louis and the Brewers split the series this year, and so it could go either way. That way, I fully anticipated going to 7 games because neither one of those teams like each other. So
yeah,
But whoever ends up going against the Dodgers, I think it'll just be a wash.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's obviously I'm cheering for the Braves because of playing the Cards. Dude, that's gonna be a fun game tomorrow. I think I'm gonna go Brewers. They've been hot here. Brandon Woodruff is pitching, and he's kind of spooky scary in the playoffs. So I'll give the edge to the Brewers. I think for the AL, probably. I really want the A's to win, but it'll probably be the Rays. They've been getting hot last month. So
Woodruff likes to make homers in clutch situations. I don't know if you can recall from.
Oh yes, he was my pick for hit of the year last year.
Last year against the Dodgers.
The Dodgers,
game
man.
3. Hits a solo homer and sparks a nice little run of wins there.
So any I because we brought this up with Josh, are there like any issues that you think face the MLB that need to kind of be addressed over other ones?
I think in years past it was that replay issue, or if it was blatantly obvious, especially on replays, that a call could have gone the other way. I think that was the biggest thing. Once they've addressed that, as far as I'm concerned, the speed of the game needs to pick up. I think they're losing attendance and they're losing viewership because the games go by so slow. You'll have guys that'll.
I think. Well, I mean, it's
against a batter, and it'll take forever for them to get on base or strike out. I don't know if that's a testament to hitters or pitchers.
It's so explosive of a game that I feel like speeding it up is going to lead to what the NFL has with these Thursday night games, is that those have increased injuries, you know? I feel like speeding up the game of the MLB is going to create the injury risk specifically for pitchers to be higher because their pitches have to be coming out faster, kind of a thing. So that's what I'm worried about. I mean, with that, I think if I had to pick one right now, just like kind of looking back at this season, I feel like the MLB doesn't do a great job of promoting their product, and I think that's partly on the MLB, and I think that's partly on the partners who distribute it. And I love to shit on ESPN, and I'm going to do it right now. They have one game a week guaranteed to be on ESPN, and that's on Sunday Night Baseball, and then they usually get Monday night game and a Wednesday night game, and they do nothing really to promote the product that is being aired on their network. I get, with hockey, it's not aired on their network. Why should we care? I mean, they air college hockey. That's why I think they should care. But they do air the MLB on their network, and like on their major programs, it gets such little airtime. So it's just like creating a situation where they're shooting themselves in the foot. And then you have people like John Boy and Dawson Wright and these guys on YouTube and Twitter who are using the new social medias to create excitement and newfound interest in the MLB. And they get shit on by the MLB themselves because they can't draw in money because the MLB will claim copyrights on their videos. So, I feel like the issue with the MLB is they've been doing a really bad job about promoting their product. Definitely last year they took steps in the right direction. I mentioned this last year too, but with let the kids play with Ken Griffey, that whole commercial, I love that. Let them have their attitude, let a pitcher get excited after a strikeout, let a batter do a bat flip after he hits a huge home run. That's what makes the game fun and exciting, besides, comparing stats and looking and comparing them to, the greats like Ted Williams and Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle, and Nolan Ryan, but
Tim Anderson, I think he's a slugger for the White Sox. He's the guy with the infamous bat flip, especially early this season. Was complaining about how boring baseball's gotten. He's trying to jazz it up by adding a little bit of flair. And I think you're right. There needs to be some kind of personality. They need big personalities.
And like, I think part of that too is the people who report on baseball, or your atypical people who report on baseball, are focused so much on the stats, and the people who are like the John Boys who are coming in and like focusing on, this guy went out in the 5th with a mustache, and then he came back in the 6th inning and his mustache was shaved off, kind of a thing.
Right.
Like we need to get more of that stuff going. I mean, I love the stats. I think stats are great, and comparing them to the old greats and the all-time greats. But again, I do love the emotional side of it, and I will never forget the Bautista walk-off home run when he just yanked it and just threw the bat all the way across the field. Yeah, that was insane.
Stuff like that you remember, and a lot of the times that it seems like the MLB tries to silence the personalization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought there was something else. Oh, and I don't know. How do you feel about this season being 162 games?
I think it's a little long, and I know it gets taxing on the players too. I don't know, because baseball is able to be played kind of pretty frequently. I don't know, but I just don't know how many games you could. It's kind of the same thing with the NBA. after 82 games, 83 games?
82.
82.
Yep.
So I think that after a long, long season, then they play a series of best of 7 series, both in baseball and in basketball, especially when you get into the later rounds. I think that it just gets taxing on the players because it's just a wear and tear, just like anything else. I don't know if it needs to be 100.
I mean, I'd say especially like on your infielders and your outfielders, catchers, your positional players, I should say, because like pitchers will get, especially your starters will get like days off. And like obviously, your positional players get scheduled days off, kind of a thing.
I know that's the reason why usually most major league teams carry 2 to 3 catchers.
Yeah, I think I like the higher count of games personally. I think that helps bring in the casual. I mean, as much as you may like think like it turns away the casual fan because it's so many games to keep up with, it helps the casual fan come in and get a ticket to a game for their team. If their team's doing really well, tickets aren't going to be that cheap, but it's a lot cheaper when there's 81 home games a year and they can get a ticket for out in the bleachers for $40-$50 on a weeknight, so, or even cheaper than that sometimes. So I think having the large number of games definitely helps the game a little bit. And like I said, if you're one of those people still struggling to get into baseball, 2 things I'd recommend. Number 1, go subscribe to John Boy Media on YouTube. Fantastic guy, great humor. Their podcast Talking Baseball is great. And then watch Ken Burns' documentary on baseball.
I think Ken Burns' documentary really, but that one's very special.
Yeah, that hit me in the heart a little bit. So I guess we'll move on to the last thing I wanted to talk about. I mentioned it earlier, was the Women's World Cup, and then we'll get to a little bit of the men's national team here. But did you guys catch any of the Women's World Cup this summer?
I did not.
I also did not watch a whole lot of the World Cup.
How dare you? I thought it was a pretty good World Cup. I mean, I didn't really watch a lot of the group play. I just kind of kept scores because a lot of the times when they were playing, I was at work, so it didn't really work out to watch them. But they came back for a repeat win. They played really, really well. They were led by none other than Megan Rapinoe, and then Rose Lavelle scored I think the game-winning goal, if I remember right, for the game for the gold medal. So representing the badges really, really well. But yeah, it was a fun World Cup to watch, and it was good to see the women just coming in and embracing the fact that everybody wanted to kick the shit out of them, and they played really, really well.
It seemed almost easy for them, especially from the scores. It seemed like it was easy for them, especially in the qualifiers.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like they have one of the better chemistries out of like most professional sports teams that I watch. Like they just really have a really good understanding for each other and where everyone's going to be on the field. So I guess talk about the Gold Cup with the men, which happened this year. They lost to Mexico. Very heartbreaking loss for me. If you want to call Linda up, she can tell you the exact words that came out of my mouth during that game. But it was pretty bad game. Ref pretty poorly. They played really poorly. And I guess we'll kind of segue that into my national team rant that I've been saving for a while, boys.
Wait, is this the one after all these years?
This is the one after all these years.
Wow.
So I guess I just want to start out with just a little introduction about soccer coming from me personally. So I feel like this topic's always been hard for me to talk about for a few reasons. The first being I'm really super passionate about the men's national team. They're the one team I've followed since I was a kid. After I started playing soccer, I really looked up to people like Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, Brian McBride, Claudio Reyna, DeMarcus Beasley. And then I'd say probably the 2014 World Cup run was probably still one of my all-time favorites and one memory that really sticks in my head. And Jermaine Jones going insane during that entire World Cup. And the second reason I guess is my relationship with the sport. I don't know if I've ever talked about it with you guys personally. I know I haven't talked about it on the show, but this is like one of the top like sports I like pour like my most time and effort into as a kid. Between like camps and everything. I started playing club year round when I was in second grade, if I remember right. And the last time I played competitively was my junior year of high school. I stopped playing because of the coach for the men's team at our high school. I'm not going to name any names and throw anybody under the bus because I've learned that good coaches don't throw people under the bus. But they stripped away my love for the game and like my devotion to becoming a better player. So it just like really ruined everything for me. And then like from the last time I played in high school to like today, I probably touched a ball maybe under 10 times. Like most recently, I think I actually like actually enjoyed having a ball at my feet again was when I was playing with my nephews a couple weeks ago. But before that, I think the last time I'd actually touched a ball was like at least a year. So like I always look back at this time in my life with like a lot of regret and disappointment. And like now I like look at it as like even as an adult, that's like just like wasted time, effort, and money. It's like it's tough because it's like one of those things that I saw as like the most enjoyable and like the best thing in my life is like now like my most hated. So the men failing to qualify in 2018 for the World Cup is saying that is an embarrassment is an understatement. The last time the U.S. had missed a World Cup before that was in 1986. Bruce Arena, after taking over for Klinsmann, had 8 of 10 games to qualify and failed to do so. For one to say he didn't have the talent to do so is pretty asinine, if you ask me. He failed to prepare his team in order to qualify. During their last game, all they had to do was draw against Trinidad and Tobago, which is like a very mid-tier, low-tier team in CONCACAF. And I think they have a population of like the size of Milwaukee for their whole country. And they ended up losing 1-2. And Grant Wall said it best, in my opinion. It was the most embarrassing night in U.S. men's national history. This is a team that in the past 2 World Cups has made the round of 16. Between 1980 and 2015, they lost 2 home qualifying matches. In 2016 alone, they lost 2, one to Costa Rica, in which they were shut out, and 1 to Mexico. And like Arena's arrogance was probably his biggest downfall. He never had faith in the youth of the program. And oh my God, he fucking refused tactics. It was so bad. It was like Mike McCarthy trying to run the same offense over and over again. My favorite part of all this was when he claimed that the European players have it so easy compared to the people in CONCACAF. Because of the issues with the field at Trinidad and Tobago, like there was a lot of rain and stuff like that, and it had some flooding issues before the match. And like meanwhile, that same week, Belgium and Bosnia were playing on a cow pasture that had been made into a soccer field.
Thanks.
So yeah. So basically, what the national team really needs to focus on, like with the strength of their program, needs to come from the development of their players. And like this is where like a majority of this blame needs to go. I mean, it's not just on Arena and like on Klinsmann, but or it's not even on like the current roster that was playing at the time or playing right now. Without skilled players, they'll never be able to compete with the Euro superstars. And the U.S. has a really bad focus on. They really tend to go for people who are athletic versus people who are skilled on the ball, because I think having big athletic people is what's going to win them soccer games, and it's not. So the second biggest factor in all this was Sunil Gulati, the former president of the United States Soccer Federation, and along with the federation itself. They didn't acquire the necessary tools to develop the youth or help the staggering problem that is currently going on with gaining numbers in the programs. A lot of that having to do with pay-to-play with a lot of the clubs. He also pretty much sat on his hands when it came to firing Klinsmann, and it happened a little bit too late, in my opinion. And he brought back a retread in fucking Bruce Arena. And like Tim Howard claiming that the national team was too reliant on foreign-born players. That didn't bring passion to the team is a little bit idiotic. But there's a little bit of point of it. little bit of point to that, even if the comment may be moved, because we've seen like the effort that was given in 2016. I mean, especially against Trinidad and Tobago. I think it's pretty boneheaded to claim that those players don't want to win the most prestigious award in soccer, if not, probably the world. Like winning the World Cup is like huge for a lot of countries. I mean, for most of the world, although it may not be for the U.S. And there were several foreign-born players like Jermaine Jones that had American roots that Klinsmann found that came in and had a lot of passion for the team and still played really, really well. But like obviously, like they shouldn't be going and picking up the scraps that other teams have left over. And like Tim Howard, like kind of also stated with Bruce Arena that there was nothing systemically wrong with U.S. soccer, which is kind of bullshit. And if that doesn't scream complacency, then I must be a Bengals fan or Marvin Lewis fan. But as we all know, Marvin Lewis is no longer the Bengals. Landon Donovan also made some comments about who the next coach should be, and like saying they should be American, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. But I mean, he does have some merit. The next coach definitely should be able to relate to the American player, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be American born. And like expecting players to stay in the U.S. and play is kind of stupid. The MLS, as far as competition goes, is pretty low on the barrel. The huge skill gap between the teams of like the MLS and like Bundesliga and the Premier League and La Liga it's like, playing college football and then going and playing in the NFL or even like the AAF. Like there's just that much of a jump. It'd be better if the MLS could draw some more European talent besides just rehashes of like old European players, like when David Beckham came over and played for the Galaxy for a few years after he was washed up being in Europe, and create a more competitive league. And like it would help draw on like crowds in the U.S. of like getting people excited about soccer. So if they could do that, obviously that'd be really, really nice, and they'd get like American kids like the chance to like witness amazing athletes playing soccer, and like kind of help with that. Like if they get rid of like the whole pay to play, and are able to get kids from who may not have the opportunities to play soccer, to get them excited about the sport and get them interested, and find those diamonds in the rough, like Kawhi Leonard, coming from a very low income area and now playing in the NBA, being one of the best players. I think, there's definitely someone out there for soccer. But yeah, this is going to be the ultimate test of U.S. soccer as a whole. These next few years, they're in complete need of a cultural change. Like I said, pay to play has to go away in some way. Like I said, U.S. will continue to lose out on kids who aren't able to afford fees. Coaches who put the development of youth players over their own careers also need to be brought in. That's a big issue that's been facing United States Soccer Federation. It should also be said that coaches at the youth level need some assistance as far as financials go too. The registration fees for becoming a coach are getting to be ridiculous if they're paid out of pocket. And then they need a coach who can relate to the players of today, yesterday, and understand how the team's strength and tactics need to be put at the helm of the team. And that's the person who needs to be like the best candidate for the job, regardless of where they grew up and played for. Until the United States Soccer Federation stops acting like a boy club, it'll continue to be a dumpster fire. Whether or not they continue, only time will tell. So Carlos Cordero is the new president of the United States Soccer Federation. And previously was a partner at Goldman Sachs. He was a Harvard graduate and a Harvard Business School graduate as well. We all know how much the MLB loves their Harvard boys. So hopefully he will be able to lead the Soccer Federation in a big step forward and a big giant leap and lead them in the right direction. But I don't think that's going to happen because he seems like he's a money boy and he's all about the money and keeping track of how things go.
I can tell you've really given this some thought. It's
been
bothering you for some time.
I've definitely done my research.
Like the second podcast.
So
2.
I brought up a couple quotes from Bruce Arena and here's some things he said verbatim. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing. Certainly as our league grows, it advances the national team program. We have some good young players coming up. Nothing has to change. To make any kind of crazy changes, I think, would be foolish. We're building a good system in our professional league. We have players playing abroad of some quality. Those are both said by Bruce Arena. And so, as we know, the story was completed when the United States Soccer Federation hired Greg Berhalter. And then, from all the knowledge presented to the public, this is probably the best hire that they could have made at the time. As a player, he's played overseas and in the MLS, so which is good. He knows what it's like to play over in Europe. So those guys who are playing in Europe that are Americans, so you can kind of relate to them, like being away from home. He played for the men's national team, actually, at the World Cup stage in 2002 and 2006. He grew up in New Jersey, went to college at UNC. He coached overseas in Sweden for a little bit, and he coached, and then most recently he coached in the U.S. for the Columbus Crew in the MLS. He hasn't had the best track record as far as coaching goes, but there was not really a lot of other people that wanted that job to take over the men's national team. The one thing that kind of frustrated me a little bit is that they seemed like they knew all along this was ultimately going to be the guy they hired for the job, and it took him 14 months to do so. In that span of time, the men's national team played 12 games, 6 of which after the World Cup had ended. To me, this was a wasted time that an interim coach, Dave Sarachan, basically did next to nothing when it comes to installing a new system in the program. It's also important to note that his brother, Jay, is the CCO of the United States Soccer Federation and is slated to be the next CEO of the federation. Even though the current GM, Ernie Stewart, was the one who made the hire, we'll leave the speculation of influence on the decision up to you. So, yeah. There's my little rant.
Wow.
But yeah, it's...
Tell me how you really feel.
It's tough, man. I hope things turn around. I hope I can enjoy men's soccer once again.
USA.
Speaking of which, shout out to the women for not flopping in the World Cup. So, fuck you, all you floppers out there in the men's professional leagues. I'm looking at you, Ronaldo. But, all right, so we'll go with some closing thoughts here. I just got a few things I want to mention real quick, and I'll see if there's anything you guys got. So I know I talked about last year the men's soccer team probably making a big step this year, and they did not do so. They are 2-6-1. Haven't really been playing that well this year. They tied against Maryland. They lost to Marquette, lost to Indiana. Yeah, they've been having a really tough stretch of soccer right here. But the women's team, I actually watched a couple of their games this year. Played really well against Rutgers. Played really well against Penn State this past weekend. Sitting at 7-2-1. I think they'll make a shot at the Big Ten title here. And then, of course, we have everyone's fall favorite, Wisconsin women's volleyball, who's had a pretty tough schedule to start out with Marquette and Baylor being on there, Washington and Purdue, all like really top programs in volleyball, and they're sitting at 6-4 right now, coming off 2 straight wins against number 15 ranked Purdue and Indiana. They got Penn State coming up here on Wednesday. That'll be a pretty good game. It's at the Field House, so if you have nothing to do on Wednesday night at 8, go check them out. It should be a pretty good game. And then they have Nebraska after that this weekend. So 2 really tough games coming up, but they're looking pretty good this year. They're looking pretty sharp. Any other closing thoughts you guys had?
Brian?
I just really hope that the Packers season doesn't fall back on 1 or 2 games here. I'm one of those people that kind of overanalyzes every little thing when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. As long as I've been alive,
I don't think anybody should ever doubt your Green Bay Packer fandom. This man loves the Green Bay Packers. I mean, loves the Green Bay Packers. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So I'm just hoping that this defense kind of figures it out. Maybe Oren Burks comes back to play, and hopefully when we play the Cowboys this week, don't we? I think that'll be a good challenge for us.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys this weekend is going to be a pretty good game to watch. I think it's actually America's Game of the Week, if I remember right.
Even better.
Nice.
I'd be more than happy to spank a little Zeke Elliott, but come Sunday. But judging by how our deep run defense has been, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. Anything you got, Connor?
I just want to say that we're entering the best time of the year for sports. The MLB is hitting postseason. The NFL season is hitting right in the meat of it. The NBA season officially started today. First preseason game was today.
Houston played
China.
Yeah, some Chinese team, the
Shanghai Sharks. James Harden had triple-double with a plus-minus of plus 37. Classic James Harden stuff. But yeah, the next 8 months are going to be great, boys. I'm excited.
I'm excited for it. Hockey comes back on Wednesday. I'm so excited. I'm ready to go.
Hockey's back.
So I guess I'll move to my favorite part of the show, the shout-out section. So I'll go first in case you guys aren't ready. So I got 3 shout-outs this time. So first one is to my boy, Luke Burkhart, a.k.a. Buttercup. I'll be coming to Badger games with me this year. Great knowledge of both Badger football and basketball. Once said that Zach Showalter is a poor man's Vander Blue. So shout out to my boy Luke. Hopefully your Brewers do well in the playoffs. And then 2 other shout outs, some big name shout outs. I want to shout out John Boy Media, Talking Jake, and John Boy himself. It's been pretty good to listen to their podcast talking baseball when I have to drive back and forth between Monroe or when I have to drive anywhere and have a long drive ahead of me. Always nice to hear their soothing voices. Enjoy the breakdown videos every single time. They're always hilarious. And then Spittin' Chicklets, the Barstool Sports podcast with Ryan Whitney and Biz Nasty and RA with hockey. So been enjoying those boys as well over the summer and even during the hockey season. So they'll be hitting 2 episodes a week starting pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to them being back and talking hockey. Also, try out Pick Whitney if you haven't yet. Very good. Pink lemonade flavored vodka. Excellent. All you need is a little bit of ice and it's perfect.
Nice.
Any shout outs for you boys?
Yeah, I have a couple. If you remember from last year, I shouted out our 2K team, PP Boys. We officially rebranded. We are now the Poo Poo Men. We're more mature this year. We're better. Better communication. So yeah, shout out to Eric, who is a favorite of the show. Brad, Chuck Kind, Jake Kind, and Shu. All the classic.
Good old Shu.
For shouting out media we enjoy, sports media. Shout out to J. Kyle Mann, aka the Dime Drop on YouTube. He's probably my favorite basketball YouTuber. He does a lot of in-depth analysis. He just did a great 15-minute video about all the LaMelo Ball hype. Really, really good scouting reports, ups and downs. Shout out to the Dime Drop. Go sub. But yeah, that's it.
All right, Brian, hit me with those big shout outs.
I've got 2 shout outs. One is to my gracious host. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time coming and being patient with me, making this happen. I really had a good time. Be more than happy to do another one, maybe even the anniversary podcast.
Ooh.
If you're down, I'm more than down. My second shout out is to a little known YouTuber, KTO. He is Carson the Oracle. This guy, his YouTube channel, I followed him for a little while. I don't know if you guys have. He kind of goes over. He is awesome.
He's really good football videos.
Yeah, I mean, he started out as like just NCAA videos. Like him playing like the equivalent of the Dynasty mode and the Superstar mode. And he really came around and started producing some real gold content with like his most recent one was just ranking the 2000s Heisman winners. And he does not only that, but he talks about like the XFL and I mean, it's a wealth of knowledge and it's really high quality content.
Future XFL star Antonio Brown.
Oh, yikes.
Oh my
God. I can't wait for it. Yeah, all right. Well, it's good to be back after a long summer. Sorry, we did have a summer schedule actually planned out, but unfortunately it didn't work out. It's good to be back though. Great time of year coming around. Like Connor said, I'm looking forward to some playoff baseball. I love me some playoff baseball. Hockey starts up here in a few days.
The NBA, baby.
NBA is going to be picking back up. College hockey is actually picked back up. So And obviously football and in both professional and college is going to be hitting the meat of their season. High school football is going to be wrapping up here in a few weeks. I know I'm going to try and make the battle for they have a trophy for it now. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but Monroe Edgewood football game, always a classic, always a good battle.
FE, baby.
There's no bigger rivalry than Monroe and Edgewood. You can't convince me otherwise. But again, I'd like to thank our sponsors of the show, Culver's and Poncho and Lefties on the Square in Monroe. Two great friends of the show. Culver's released 4 great flavor of the days over the summer. Check them out if you can.
Remember the pub burgers back?
The pub burger is back. I just checked the website. It is back, boys. So go grab a pub burger while they're still back, and the pretzel bites are back. Don't forget about that.
Catch me at Culver's 4 out of the next 5 days of the week.
So look for a new episode probably in about 2.5-3 weeks. Here we'll get another guest on here. We've thrown some names around, but enjoy your fall, enjoy your baseball. Go Pack, go, baby.
Is dangling on a 4th down and 3. Davis, Matthews, got it! Pickett caught it, and Pitt ties the game. Kessman has missed 2 field goals, but not this one. Look at the smile for that kid.